Well, it finally happened, Marvel fans. There's a new leak and rumor out there about the MCU that is so freaking crazy that I'm having trouble processing it. This has to do with the battle for the Marvel Multiverse coming down to Kang versus Doctor Strange. And what's more, Kang may actually be the good guy. And oh man, I've got some thoughts. So, in this video, we will first break down where this report is coming from and go into the details that the insiders are talking about. Then I'll summon all of the powers of being a gigantic freaking nerd and try to explain what I think about this and how it fits into the other leaks and rumors that we already have established. So smash a like on this video and let's begin. So first up, this is coming from the Cosmic Circus and it is coming from Alex Perez, who has a pretty good track record. So I tend to believe that this is at least something that Marvel is talking about for now. Marvel has a history of changing things even up until the last moment for a particular movie or a plot overarching many films. So this could be an idea that they are playing around with now that they are going to abandon. But I think it's actually pretty likely that this is something Marvel will do in the MCU, especially because we've recently heard that Doctor Strange 3 is going into production and will likely come out before the next two Avengers films. So in the article over on the CosmicCircus.com, they say here, our sources have informed us that the final matchup explored leading into the next Avengers films will be pitting Doctor Strange versus Kang on the opposite sides of the battle to come. Both Strange and Kang will serve as the key players for each side. This matchup is comparable to Tony Stark versus Thanos in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. And that's like already crazy as heck, but it gets even wilder. The article goes on to say, however, the distinct detail that separates this story from the one told before with Tony and Thanos is the role that Kang will take in this matchup. Kang's perspective and the angle Marvel Studios will want to pitch to audiences is that he's the hero trying to save the multiverse from its greatest threat yet, Dr. Stephen Strange. And wow, is that a total mind and something that we're going to have to dive deeply on. But first, let's dig more into this article and let's see what Alex Perez has to say about how he thinks this is all going to go down. Alex goes on in the article to talk about the notion of Doctor Strange being the villain, suggesting that it's not that far-fetched and that we've already seen an evil version of Doctor Strange kind of twice. He focuses in his article on the Sinister Strange that we meet in the Multiverse of Madness, but there is, of course, Sinister Strange, who's somewhat of a villain or at least an anti-hero in the What If show. And Alex speculates that this sinister version of Stephen Strange is probably what most versions of Doctor Strange in the multiverse will end up being. He notes that this will be similar to the way that Kang Prime ultimately becomes Immortus. He says in his article, everyone assumes that Kang and his variants are the ones causing the endless incursions across the multiverse. What people won't realize is that a majority of these incursions are caused by Stephen in attempts to either defeat Kang or Thanos or another multiversal threat. Most outcomes end up being that Stephen's incursions across the multiverse are what causes the end of those universes to begin with. This was hinted at by John Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic variant in Multiverse of Madness. And that's true. We did literally have the Illuminati of the 838 universe say that from all of their research, the most dangerous threat to the multiverse is Stephen Strange. And I think it's worth noting here that this was a universe in which they perfected Ultron really early on and began charting the multiverse way ahead of what we've been doing in the 616 universe. I mean, the 838 universe and the Baxter Foundation was literally cataloging the multiverse. They understood the Darkhold. They understood Incursions. They were way ahead of us, and they believe that Stephen Strange is the greatest threat to the entire multiverse. Now, Alex goes on in the article to talk about something else that his sources have told him, and he says that Sinister Strange has been terminating his variants to avoid the inevitable future of an incursion between two universes. This is in order to avoid leading to Sinister Strange and his current circumstances in the future. think of him as the anti-Immortus. Immortus wants to find Kang Prime so Kang can become Immortus. Sinister Strange is trying to avoid his future from ever happening to other universes. Unfortunately, as mentioned earlier, it's inevitable. 616 Strange has already begun an incursion on his own universe, and the consequences will surely be catastrophic moving forward. Alex also talks about in the article some crazy concept art that was out there for the Multiverse of Madness, in which you see Mordo and Stephen Strange coming into a universe that's seemingly a desert full of other dead Stephen Strange variants. And this all ties into Alex's thought that the Sinister Strange was out there culling the multiverse of other variants of Doctor Strange to try to prevent this multiversal collapse that would inevitably come from one of the different variants of Stephen Strange. So this is all pretty freaking crazy to me, so now let me summon those powers of being a gigantic freaking nerd and try to make this make sense for all of you. So when it comes to Stephen Strange being a massive threat to the multiverse, this reminds me of a couple of different moments from the Jonathan Hickman run up to his Secret Wars. Of course, Jonathan Hickman did like 3 years of Avengers and New Avengers, really crafting an incredible slow burn story in which we saw all of these incursions happen more and more and more until there were just 2 universes left in the entire multiverse. And obviously, Marvel Studios is using the concept of incursions for their version of Secret Wars. So the main point is it's worth looking at what happened in those Jonathan Hickman comics that led to his Secret Wars, because it kind of seems like Marvel Studios will be pulling some things from there. And like I said, Doctor Strange has a couple of really dark moments in that run. There was one run where Doctor Strange does this crazy forbidden spell, actually opening up the third eye on himself and summoning this crazy Cthulhu-like being. And this was an incredible issue. I remember it well. It happens in a world where the Squadron Supreme is the main heroes of that universe. And so it was a lot like the Illuminati of Marvel Comics versus the Justice League. And it was kind of evenly matched until Stephen Strange did this forbidden spell and essentially killed the entire freaking Justice League from that universe. He actually had to be taken out by the members of the 616 Illuminati because it was getting ridiculous. There's even a part in the book where Stephen Strange goes to sell more of his soul for more power to perhaps be able to stop the incursions. And he's literally told that he doesn't even have enough of his soul left to bargain with. But there's a moment later on in the run where you realize that this group of beings known as the Dark Priests, who were going around the multiverse destroying Earths, are actually all being led by Doctor Strange. That Stephen Strange from our own universe went out there and secretly created this crazy multiversal army known as the Black Priests, and they were going around destroying Earths in order to save universes and slow down the incursions. It was a really crazy freaking moment, and I could see something like that being adapted into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it ties into this big rumor that Alex Perez is talking about. Stephen Strange going to do something on his own, not informing others, and thinking that he could be the one to actually stop this massive multiversal thing is, well, very Stephen Strange. So I think it's absolutely possible, especially after tapping into the power of the Darkhold and just being aware of what incursions are generally, that the 616 Stephen Strange is doing something similar to his comic book counterpart with the Black Priests. So I can absolutely see Doctor Strange doing some seemingly evil things in what he considers to be the service of the greater good. And I can even see Stephen Strange across the entire multiverse doing similar things, creating incursions. But where it gets a little confusing for me is how this fits into a lot of the leaks and rumors that we already have established. I mean, look, it's not called Avengers the Strange Dynasty, it's the Kang Dynasty. They're going to be fighting against the different Kangs. But Alex mentions that in the events leading up to the next couple of Avengers movies, there will be this big conflict between Kang and Stephen Strange, and essentially eventually the people of Earth might have to decide against just letting Kang rule in order to have stability in the multiverse, or choosing Stephen Strange and fighting against Kang, but maybe risking incursions and the destruction of the entire multiverse. Now, we've also heard mention of the 838 universe and an evil Iron Man perhaps still being a threat, and there being some kind of conflict with 838 and 616. Maybe it's possible that the Illuminati in the 838 universe is already in contact with Kang or a Kang variant, and maybe a Kang variant will try to get the help of the 838 universe to invade 616 and destroy our Stephen Strange before he's able to cause more mischief in the multiverse. And that would be interesting because, of course, you already have Christine Palmer within 838 who would probably side with Stephen. She sees our Stephen as being different than all of the other ones and being a generally good guy. So my best guess on what might actually happen here is Doctor Strange 3 being a film about the multiverse, or at least maybe some people from 838 teaming up with a Kang variant, invading Earth, trying to flip even some of the Avengers on our own planet, and all of them trying to stop Doctor Strange. And perhaps all the while, Doctor Strange and maybe Clea will have some kind of a greater understanding of what's really going on in the multiverse, and will try to get other people to help him to stop Kang and the 838 Avengers. And I guess the reason I could see that happening is because, number one, it would just be so cool, and I think have a lot tied in to Multiverse of Madness, kind of making Stephen Strange's trilogy pretty well connected and really ridiculous. But also, I just can't see Doctor Strange actually being the villain of all of this. Otherwise, it would be so weird to present Kang as this bad guy, do 2 Avengers movies where one, you're going to have all kinds of different Kangs as the bad guy, and then you're likely to have the Beyonder Kang as the bad guy of Secret Wars. Like, all of that's going to feel really weird if really it's all just Steven, and Steven's the bad guy and we're rooting for Kang. That's just confusing. But regardless of all of the confusion, it's a really exciting idea. It seems really fun. And again, I think it ties into some stuff that happened during the Jonathan Hickman comics leading up to his Secret Wars. Of course, let me know what you think about this crazy rumor in the comment section below. Smash a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and if you want to watch more, why not check out a video I just did breaking down everything we know about what's coming next for the Kang variants.